In 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed because a centrally managed Marxist economic system with no pride of ownership simply doesn't work. Concomitant with this collapse, both China and India saw the wisdom of changing their economic policies before they too suffered a similar fate.
400 million Russians and Eastern Europeans who had been behind the Iron Curtain suddenly joined the global economy. And then when China moved toward capitalism, hundreds of millions of more workers basically went into the global economy to compete. And their competitors are American workers and European workers who were making salaries, say, of $30, $40, $50 an hour in manufacturing. And these hard-working people who are quite willing to work for less, they became an enormously attractive labor market for American industries and American factories, which have been moving to China and to Mexico and to third world countries to take advantage of low-wage labor, very little laws and regulations, low taxes, and by so doing, what's happened is the great manufacturing base of the United States has been exported.
Greed-driven, Benedict Arnold CEOs were unable to resist the opportunity to fire American workers and exploit people who would work for wages 5 to 20 times less. Thus was born what we now call globalization, the profit-motivated act of exploiting slave labor workforces to produce cheap and unsafe products that can be sold to American consumers until they overextend themselves on credit card and home equity debt. In short, globalization is the daily business of the fascist multinational corporation in its psychopathic pursuit of stockholder value at the expense of human value.
And the winners are the owners of the American corporations whose profits are soaring, and the shareholders, and the losers are first world workers, in particular American workers, who are seeing their wages arrested and their wages fall and their jobs going overseas in the millions for the last 30 years.
If one day I encounter a lady who just bought a toy from Walmart, I'll say, "Respectable customer, respectable Walmart customer, do you know why you can buy such a cheap toy from Walmart? That's because we workers work all day, every day and night.
We added 125,000 new jobs around this world this past year. Good job.
In the 1960s, before cultural Marxism was able to get its foothold on the institutions, American companies, not multinational corporations, produced 96% of all that Americans consumed. Now, a fourth of America's steel is foreign-made, a third of its cars, half of its machine tools, 2/3 of its clothes, and almost all of its shoes, radios, telephones, TVs, cameras, VCRs, and bicycles.
So what these multinational companies are now doing is they are transferring their plants and their factories and their technology over where production is cheapest and maintaining completely free access to the consumers in the United States. What the transnational companies profit from is basically by getting rid of their American workers, but keeping their American consumers. And in this sense, they no longer have any kind of loyalty to the community where they were raised, or to the states, or to the country.
Between NAFTA and the Federal Reserve System, both gifts to the American people from greedy Wall Street financial institutions and their fascist multinational corporate clients, the U.S. has seen its dollar lose over 95% of its purchasing power, seen its economic and energy independence squandered, seen its major homegrown industries decimated, seen its working men and women forced to submit to employment as debt slaves, seen its middle class placed into Darwinian competition with foreign workers making slave wages at gunpoint. And now it's seen a $700 billion taxpayer bailout of Wall Street banks and financial entities. In one generation, the house that Hamilton built has collapsed. Corporate fascists have been able to hollow out the U.S. manufacturing base and exploit the U.S. market because cultural Marxists have been able to hollow out traditional American values on their march through the institutions.
There have been forces working in this direction for centuries, and they are coming to realize this ideal of theirs. But quite frankly, loyalty to globalism is thus treason to the American Republic.
The Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, they've been talking about a world government for a long time. They've testified in Congress that they're trying to build a world government. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's pretty laid out on the table. That's what's being done.